This is a typical bathroom three-way fitting with a light, a heater and an exhaust fan. They work really well and they're generally a good investment in my view. Now, without doubt, the most important design feature of these fittings, and it's critical in fact, is that the heater part is a radiant type. This means they use heat lamps that blast you with radiant heat. The alternative would be convective heating, where the heating element simply heats the air around it, and that warm air eventually warms the room. Now, there are two really good reasons why you can't use a convective heater in a three-way bathroom fitting. Firstly, since convective heaters heat the air, they aren't really effective until the warm air reaches you. Warm air rises, of course, which would be fine if you're over the top of the heater, but not if the heater's built into the ceiling. You'd have to heat the whole top half of the room before you got warm, and that'd be hopelessly inefficient, firstly in terms of energy consumption, and secondly because you'd have dried off and left the room before the heat built up enough to reach you. The other reason you can't use a convective heater in a bathroom three-way is that these units have the heater sitting right beside the exhaust fan. Now, if you want to run the fan while you're in there, which you should be entitled to do, any warm air gets immediately sucked out into the roof space. So that's why all bathroom three-way devices use radiative heat lamps. Radiant heat travels at the speed of light, so as soon as you flick that switch, it's on you. I can feel that already. You can tell the two lamps in this unit are radiant heaters from the colour of their glow. It's a yellowish white. I can maybe compare it with the bluish white of the light next to it. When they're that yellowish white colour, that means the element's really hot, around 2500 degrees Kelvin. Now, physics tells us that at that temperature, they're giving up most of their heat by radiation. And that's why I can feel it right down here from the moment I turn it on. And I can confirm this experimentally by switching on the exhaust fan. Give it a second to start really pulling air. Nothing's changed down here. I'm still just as warm as I was before I turned that fan on. So it's not warm air those lamps are producing, it's radiant heat. Why am I telling you all this? Well, let's go to the other bathroom. Now, we're in my other bathroom where I recently decided to upgrade from to a larger unit, something a little bit more modern looking, but unfortunately I've been taken for a ride to the tune of $500 for the fitting and $300 for installation. I won't mention the brand, but I'll show you the problem. Now, this has two heat elements on this one, so to be fair, I'm only going to use one of them. Each element here consumes 600 watts, which is similar to the two heat lamps together that I showed you before. They were 275 watts each, so 550 watts in total, comparable with the 600 watt lamp here. Now let me turn that on. Notice anything different? Well, one thing I can tell you is that I'm not getting a lot of love down here. I can't feel anything yet at all. And look at the color, it's a reddish orange. That means its temperature's around 1000 degrees Kelvin, which is sort of hot, but it's much cooler than the heat lamps I showed you before. Now, these are marketed as heat lamps, but that is just plain wrong. Going back to the physics, the basic radiation equations tell us that radiative heat transfer depends on the temperature to the power of 4. So in fact, based on my estimates, if you assume this one's 1000 Kelvin, the previous ones were 2500, that means that these babies here emit radiation at 39 times less, approximately, than the ones in the other bathroom. 39 times less radiation. These are not lamps, these are heat elements. Now, if you're over 40, you might remember the old-fashioned bar heaters that were often called radiators. I guess they got that name because they got hot enough to emit some radiation, but by today's standards, they're not radiators, they're just hot convective heaters. They were the same orange color that you see here. Nobody called them lamps, and sure as hell nobody installed them recessed into a ceiling right next to a powerful exhaust fan. That'd be insane, right? Now, with all this talk, I'm just starting to feel a little something coming down from this thing. So let's see what happens if I turn on the exhaust fan. Give it a second. Oh no! Where's my heat gone? Now this 600 watt bar radiator is now a colored decoration on my ceiling because I'm cold and I'm heating the void in my roof space. Anyway, let me turn that fan off for a sec. I'm sure as hell not burning 1200 watts to heat my roof void. I thought this must have been a fault when I spoke to the manufacturer. This was actually how they designed it. So hopefully they'll be going back to the drawing board, but I wonder how many of these things are going to be sold before they get recalled or banned. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now.